You thought they had it resolved in 1833. By the way, we are going to come back to our conversation of what the hell is going on with Ron Wyden. Has one guy single-handedly basically devastated the Democratic Party's ability, and particularly the Democrat running against Paul Ryan in his district in Wisconsin, their ability to win an election. We will get back to that in a few minutes. But first, I find this even more amazing. Actually, I'm not sure what would be more amazing than what Ron Wyden did, but this is right up there. In 1833 in the United States, we passed a law, we, the citizens of the United States, our elected representatives, passed a law, a federal law, that said, we're not going to have debtors' prisons here anymore. You know, all around the world they have debtors' prisons. We're more civilized than that. And yet, as Marie Diamond is reporting over at the Center for American Progress's blog, thinkprogress.org, one of the just best, bullet point news sources out there, Robin Sanders in Illinois, driving home when a cop pulls her over for having a loud muffler. And at this point, let me toss it off to Marie to tell you the rest of the story. Marie Diamond with thinkprogress.org. Hey, welcome to the program, Marie.
Hi, Tom. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us. You are a great reporter and great blogger over there. So here we have Robin Sanders, and she's driving down the street in Illinois. What happens?
Well, this is just one of many cases that we're hearing where people who don't even know they're being sued end up in jail because creditors are using harsher and harsher tactics to get their money. So Robin Sanders was driving home. She was pulled over for a loud muffler, but instead of just getting off with a warning, officers arrested Sanders and she was taken to jail. And only then did she find out that there was a warrant out for her arrest because she owed $730 on a medical bill. She didn't even get any notices that this was happening to her. And before she knows that, her family is having to collect bail money to get her out.
That's incredible. Now, I can, just from personal experience, and I'm guessing that probably maybe the majority of our listeners, certainly anybody who's used their health insurance, more than once or twice a year, have had similar experience, or more than once in their lifetime, have had similar experiences of, I once had a bill from I forget what it was. I think it was when I stepped on a nail when I was living in Oregon and I got an X-ray of my foot. I'm pretty sure that's what it was. But whatever it was from the imaging, the X-ray company, the doc in the box that I went to, and they said, this hasn't been paid. And I said, here's my health insurance. I turned it in when I went there. We called the insurance company. They said, oh yeah, we'll take care of it. Everything's fine. 3 months later, I get another bill. And then 3 months after that, I'm getting a collection bill. And it's like, hey, wait a minute, my insurance paid for this. And ultimately, after Louise spent like 4 hours on the phone with 3 different companies, we figured, it got paid. And, the health insurance company, as they usually do, the first 3 times you insert something, said, oh, yeah, whatever, we'll take care of it or not. I mean, isn't like most of America in a situation like this?
Oh, absolutely. We've seen Americans having to take on mountains of debt because, they can't find jobs. There's been slow wage growth. They often owe more money on their homes than they're worth.
Or what about just plain old screw-ups?
Yeah, that's a lot what we're seeing. So collection agencies are really eager to exploit the situation to get more money. And because they just use, sloppy, incomplete, or even false documentation, people, often just don't even know what's going on before they're taken to jail. And we're seeing thousands and thousands of these cases.
Thousands and thousands of people who are essentially being put in prison because they're in debt, which sounds like debtor's prison to me.
No, exactly. And it's ironic because, as you say, debtor's prison has technically been illegal in the U.S. since 1833, and our country used to be one of the early proponents of banning debtor's prisons because so many Europeans came to the New World with debt and could be put in jail for owing as little as 60 cents. And so we ended this practice really early. It's something that we kind of think of as being more a part of Dickinsonian London than modern-day America.
Right.
But really, it's the de facto return of debtor's prison.
Yeah, and it is Dickinsonian. Dickens' father actually went to debtor's prison, which is probably why he, it heavily influenced much of his writing. But to this point, on the one hand, I'm assuming that we want to have a court system where if somebody fails to appear in court, which is usually what these warrants are issued for, right? For failure to appear in court. Okay. So if you want somebody to appear in court, if you're suing somebody for some legitimate cause, they've harmed you, you got in a car accident and they banged up your car and they owe you a couple $1,000, and they don't show up in court, you want to have some recourse against them. I mean, you want there actually to be the police power of the state to enforce contracts or to enforce laws. And yet, at the same time, you don't want that capriciously abused or abused in ways that simply punish people with jail time for having lost their job, for example. So how do we slice that? I mean, this is kind of Solomonic. How do we separate those two? And why is it that this seems to be a recent problem and wasn't a problem during, for example, the 82 recession during Reagan?
Right. Well, I mean, debt collection has become a really lucrative business because this current recession is so bad. It's an industry that's set to grow 26% in the next 3 years. And like any other industry, their one desire is to boost their profits. And since they have so many of these cases, they're really using their power to intimidate borrowers to getting their money. And because so many people don't know their rights, they can find themselves being intimidated into payment agreements. So, we've seen cases where they'll be hauled in front of a court and judges will interrogate them about why they can't pay more and why they don't have a job.
Wow. And the flip side of that, though, is does this have to do with how, a couple of years ago, our bankruptcy laws were changed in ways that made it much, much harder for people to declare bankruptcy and exempted entire areas like student debt from even being able to declare bankruptcy on. Does that have something to do with why it's so bad now?
In part, right now I think we just need to push, as some lawmakers have done, for more restrictions about, requiring creditors to prove that they've given borrowers adequate notice that they've been received before they press warrants. And, collection agencies have really just jumped the gun, and instead of trying to work out equitable deals with borrowers, they go straight to the harshest tactic they can use.
Right.
And the Federal Trade Commission has actually received 140,000 complaints related to debt collection in 2010, which is just, a staggering number. And they've taken 10 debt collection agencies to court for using these bullying practices. Have they taken any of those CEOs to jail? No. Yeah. Of course, that's just for the debtors. Not
that's right. That's just for blue-collar people and pink-collar people.
Right.
Yeah, the CEOs, they never go to jail. So in the half a minute or so we have left here, Marie, what should we do? Call our legislators and say what?
Well, you should certainly call your legislators and say that, debtors' prisons should have gone out a long time ago, that despite the fact that they've been explicitly banned in many states' constitutions, we're seeing them come back now, and borrowers need to be protected.
So get this industry under control.
Right. This is an industry that needs to be more regulated, and, it really reflects the demands of the 99% movement, which is saying that, big business got bailed out, big banks got bailed out, but Americans who find themselves burdened under lots of debt deserve the same consideration and shouldn't just be thrown in jail when they can't pay their bills. Right.
Very well said. Marie Diamond over at thinkprogress.org. You can read all about it. And the headline, Return of Debtors' Prisons. It's unpaid bills land some debtors behind bars. It's remarkable. A great research. Marie, thanks so much for being with us.
Thanks so much for having me, Tom.
Good talking with you. We'll be back.